Hi, Miss Stone. It's me, Kevin, from your fifth period class of AP Lit, and this is my progress as a reader. I'm just going to start off right away. Throughout the quarter, my skills and abilities with reading, I believe, have grown, and I still struggle with some aspects, but I believe that I have improved in analysis, reading objectively, using a dictionary, developing an artistic sense. Um, Tailoring strategies to the composition of the text, uh, and understanding the significance of many references within a book. Throughout the books I was reading, I struggled with a lot of the verbal irony that was placed within some of the books. Um, I had struggled with the language that taken place within the Canterbury Tales and the Partner's Tale, but it was through applying a lot of the skills and tips that were within Nabokov and Proza's essay that I began to grow as a reader. Um, in the beginning, during the summer at Brave New World, I was basically just powering through the book and was reading for the sake of finishing the book. Thus, I did not pick up on the important aspects or the message portrayed in the book until a friend had asked me about the recurring ideas within the book. I ignored a lot of small details, didn't pay attention to them. I kind of set them aside, and those details would have helped me decipher the plot and a lot of the ideas that were portrayed within the book. And I didn't even know Brave New World was essentially a warning to the future society of what we could become, as it was a representation of modern society today, just like blown out, way out of proportion. Um, I didn't really put much vision and imagination into my reinterpretation of the book in my head, in which Nabokov deems as bad. I also tried connecting my personal ideas and viewpoints to the book, in which is the is is what Nabokov deems as bad, and I disobeyed Nabokov's idea of leaving yourself out. I had struggled to decipher a lot of the symbolism in the plot that the book was trying to convey, as I didn't apply my artistic mindset to the book's ideas to the fullest. Um, I had possessed many of the attributes in which Nabokov deemed as a lowly reader. An example, I related to my ideas to the text, thus polluting the author's idea. Uh, Throughout the quarter, after reading Nabokov's essay multiple times, Nabokov taught me to extract the bias, ideas, and connections and relations that were mine to the author's book. I learned that by doing this, it serves as an effective strategy to ingest a whole idea that was from the author without polluting it with your own ideas and imagination and beliefs. Therefore, you only take in the author's idea and you get the full like synopsis of the book. Uh, I also learned that the major importance of rereading and how imperative it is in the mission of understanding the text and picking up minor details. At first, I took Nabokov as a joke and was like, yes, please shred my existence for being an ever so lowly reader. Um, but, and I didn't take his word very seriously. I don't know why. But after rereading his essay multiple times, I found the importance of the techniques that he had listed and how I had incorporated them into my own life and my daily reading. Prose also taught me to develop a different take of reading based on the composition of the book. For example, for Beowulf, I used a lot of the notes that I had taken when the class was doing close reading, and I had paid attention to a lot of the characters and their uh, characteristics, such as Grendel's um, pride and how his confidence would melt away as soon as he encountered that Beowulf and engaged in combat with him. And I had paid attention to Beowulf's sense of pride and how uh, the hero's code had applied so much to his character. And I also had used a lot of the notes that were in the columns of the textbook while reading Beowulf. During the Canterbury Tales and the Partner's Tale, I also reread it a couple times, as it had been given me trouble based on how it was worded, and I used a lot of the side notes that were in the columns. I also realized during the Partner's Tale that it was about a lot the corruption within the church during the time of Martin Luther's 49 Thesis, and it showed the greed within the church and the powerful and moral corruption that took place within the clergy, and how the partner tells how corrupt he is. Um, when reading my quarter book, I had used not only dictionaries but Nabokov's suggested tactic of rereading and his tactic of just like taking the idea of the author without polluting it of your own, because I didn't really apply my own beliefs or my own connections to a personal situation to the book, but I had um, taken Prose's advice and had connected it to a modern social situation, as my quarter book was based on a black man growing up in, well, living in times where segregation was still prevalent. And using Prose's I reading tactic, it gave me a not only a better understanding, but a better grasp on the message that the author was trying to imply, and a lot of the subliminal details that were within the book, such as little as the author walking through a university and realizing that, hey, this statue is of a black man being knelt down, which was a subtle jab, a subtle racist remark at black people, and the statue was placed within a black college. Um, it's little details like those that I began taking into account, where I put them together and understand the author's idea that they are trying to communicate to me. Um, through the different books I was reading, I began to not only take in a lot of the techniques that Nabokov and Prose were giving me, but also I began to understand how these techniques are going to apply to me in the future. Overall, through the course of the quarter, I had began applying the different tactics that Prose and Nabokov had placed in their essays, and through that, I firmly believe that my growth of a reader has grown, and even though I still struggle with a lot of the aspects, such as understanding a lot of the language that's used and a lot of the textual composition, I now have less trouble when it comes to reading a lot of the texts printed before me.